All right, then. Good day to all of you. We're here. We are ready to roll. This is Mainline Executive Coaching ACT. I'm here with Rich Barron, my partner, and
Hello.
Maikel Bailey. And we've got an exciting and very interesting topic to discuss today. We talk a lot about leadership. We kind of bug leaders and encourage them and let them know that, there's more that's expected of them, the more that they can do, more skills, more character development that they can go after. We can assist them in all that, help them become leaders that really lead, that really make a difference in their own organizations, particularly with the people that they're leading. And today we're going to be talking about it a little bit different, change a little bit in terms of, if you want an example of a really poor leader, what poor leadership is, we've got it. It's right there in front of all of us.
Yes.
What is poor leadership all about? There could not be a better lesson, perhaps, probably in decades, Rich.
Yep.
It's been decades that we've had this kind of just terrible leadership. So let's start out with that. What do you got to say about this whole thing?
Oh my gosh, it's interesting. This is a controversial subject for certain.
Mm.
And you know, if you look at the Gallup polls, the way the United States has been viewed by other countries over the past 20 years. In 2002, we reached the highest it had been in decades. It was 79%. That's how the world viewed us. Since 2002, it's gone further and further downhill. It hit the bottom in 2008. It's climbed up a little bit, not much, went down. And now at 2022, we're at 48%, which means the majority of the world, by a slim margin, no longer views the United States favorably. And what exactly does that mean? And where did all that come from? I think you look at the leadership that we have, and it's, is it Republican, Democrat? Is it left, right? Is it he said, she said? But I think, well, I'm not going to say I think. If you look at the current statistics in the world right now, current statistics in the United States, highest inflation rates in 40 years. Gas prices through the roof. If you've been in the grocery store lately, it's absolutely ridiculous what the cost of just your basic staples are. Milk, eggs, bread, those sort of things. Those things that a lot of younger families and everybody that are really struggling to now make ends meet again. We just came out of this period where things were relatively good. Money was cheap. Things were good. Interest rates were low. The economy was improving, and now we're struggling. And why would we say this, Michael? I mean, is there one particular person we can look at, or is there a group of people we can look at, or is there an entire you know process that's creating this? Bottom line is simply this: the leadership of the United States is AWOL. It is absent without leave. It seriously is. There is no transparency. There is no true value there anymore. Remember, Michael, remember back when 9/11 happened, okay? I remember that day like it was yesterday. I was in my office at work. Um, People started talking about this. We had a TV in the break room, and we had a TV in the conference room, and we were watching, and we watched this unfold live. And it was heartbreaking. It was sickening. It made you angry. It was just, what's going on here? There's so much confusion. And I'm not going to get into the conspiracy theories beyond that, but there was a time that immediately followed that in my lifetime, I have never seen so much unity from the people in the United States. Now, conspiracy theories aside, whatever you want to call what happened with 9/11, fast forward to now. We hate each other. People hate each other for the choices they make, for the politics they have. for the media, for are you left, are you right, you know, are you for this, are you against this, are you a Trump supporter, are you a Biden supporter, regardless. And it's hate now. It's absolute hate. But you have to go right back to the leadership of the United States. It's AWOL in every aspect you look at it, and it is pathetic. I don't have another word for it.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Use that word. It's heartbreaking. It's tragic. It's bitter. It's sad. It's aggravating. It's a lot of things come out of that, and you do got to take a look at some level about leadership. Leadership is very much responsible for this. Leadership is very much responsible for the lack of leadership. What's going on right now? Um, Leadership is expected to have this vision, a vision that invites and encourages and draws people in to a single focus about not only where we're going, about who it is that we are. We talked about this, the stories. It's the stories that bring us together. It's not just the intellectual concepts, the paradigms. It's not just that. It's this story of who we are. We've lost that story of who it is that we are,
Yeah.
and we've also lost, and sad to say, the capacity to think critically, just to think objectively. A lot of people's emotions have just simply been hijacked. They lack the ability to think critically and look at things, look at facts, and deal with the facts. And instead, they just make up their own stories, and it's a sad, heartbreaking place to be. Leadership must have this sense of vision about how to bring people together. They must be able to communicate it authentically. They must be transparent about it. They must,
Yeah.
if there's been mistakes, let's look at the mistakes. Let's go on and what do we do from here? How do we grow everybody from here? Not some.
Yep.
And that's one of the problems that we have in our leadership now. Some are doing well and many are not. And the ones that are doing well seem to have a lot of the communication channels, have a lot of the lot of
Yep.
megaphones. They not only say what it is they want, they demand what it is that they want, and then they put everybody else in a position of putting them down, shaming them, and it's terrible because again, if you take a look at great leadership, this is not great leadership. This is just the complete opposite. The vision they have is horrible. It's a horrible vision. Although they
Yep.
claim it is a great vision, you cannot lead a country or even the world and say fundamentally that the place that we're taking you, probably about 80% of you, it's not going to work. It's not going to work for 80% of you. And in that process of so-called transitioning, there'll be a lot of hurt, there'll be a lot of damage, there'll be a lot of hard stuff. People are willing to go through hard stuff if there's a real payoff, if there's a real outcome that is worth it. People have paid
Yeah.
tremendous prices to come to, for instance, to the United States, the price that they've had to pay to cross oceans or travel across lands, and just to be able to be in that country where it's free, where they have their rights,
Yeah.
life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all those kinds of the right to own property.
Yeah.
They're willing to do that if there's something that's worth it. But this leadership only offers pain and suffering, and there's nothing really good that's going to come out of it. They can't show it, they can't demonstrate it. So they have to lie about it. That's the other thing. If if leadership is not honest, is not authentic, is not forthcoming and giving information and sharing what's going on, the development and where things go wrong and being willing to correct those things, if they're constantly obfuscating, lying, deceiving, it's obvious. I mean, you
Yeah.
cannot follow that because eventually the facts come out. The real details of the story start emerging. We see it, as you said, gas
Yes.
pump, baby formula. Can't find baby formula, which is interesting because most of the other world has baby formula, but for some reason we didn't. Even in our healthcare, it goes
Yep.
on and on and on and on. And so, if you ever wanted to see what not to do, this lack of a real vision, a lack of effective communication, a lack of really laying out a plan that they're implementing, they keep everybody informed on how to keep everybody together, the stories that we're going through this process, the positive effects that we're going through, just the progress that we're making, and where it is that we're going to end up in a way that brings people all together. That is all the things that they do not do. And instead of bringing the sense of direction and order and unity, they bring nothing ongoingly except chaos, confusion, lies, deception, without one ability, one iota of ability to take ownership in anything. In a lot of ways, when you take a look at it, that's like a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old who just can't take responsibility, who's always having
Right.
some sort of rant or upset, or they call the terrible twos a tantrum. It just seems like they're always having tantrums, always upset, always unhappy. They can never be happy about anything, and of course then they can't tell the truth. So what do you do? What is it that people do that find themselves in that kind of situation? What do they do, Rich?
It's an interesting thing. You talk about vision, and yeah, coming out on the other side. We're going to come out on the other side of this, okay? And it's hard to see that vision right now because it's not being created for us. Now we talk a lot about this, Michael, as organizations goes. A CEO in an organization, as they choose to act, the organization tends to follow them.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing with the leadership of our country. You know, the country's in bad. I want to say it's in a bad way. I love my country, Michael. I truly love my country. I'll tell you what. A year and a half ago, 2 years ago, my father passed away and was buried with full military honors. And if you could have seen that, pulling into the cemetery in the hearse, lined with military people with flags, and the full flag folding ceremony, and the 21 gun salute, the whole 9 yards. And I think there was a time when people truly had a vision of what this country was going to be. Even through tough times, there was a vision. This is where we need to go. Whether we agreed with it or not, there was a vision. This is where we're going. You don't see that now. You see anger. You see pointing fingers. You see blame. No, this is their fault. It's not our fault. We can't take this. And so for the young people, that looking for the future, they're the ones that really truly need this vision of where I'm going to go, this vision of who I'm going to become, and part of this country. Let me tell you a little story. You mentioned something, Michael. I want to go off on something here real quick. Some of my ancestors. Okay,
Yeah.
1866, American Congress. It was 1865 or 1866. Left Scotland. Okay, it actually left England for come on over here. And my aunts, a lot of my ancestors were on that ship. Let me tell you about them. Okay, so and I'm not gonna put names out there, but two of them, their family, they had 13 children. Okay, and in the month and a half prior to them leaving their home and coming to the United States, 8 of them passed away.
Whoa.
8 died from diphtheria. 2 of them they buried the day before they got on the ship to leave England. So they had 13 children. They boarded with 5. Okay. Now it's an interesting because as they got on there, I had another set of would become my relatives, ancestors as well. 2 days before she was to get on the ship, she buried her husband for the same thing. And so she was alone with her infant son. They got to know each other, and over the course of time, the 2 infants, a baby girl and a baby boy, met with these families. They eventually got married and whatever.
Hmm.
But the point is they had this vision. They knew coming to the United States, they knew coming over here, even though back they still had to get to the East Coast. They still had to make their way across the United States. Ended up here in Utah, and but it was a vision. It was a dream. I was willing to go through this hardship for something better for my family. So how many of us really have that vision now? Are we really able to put behind us these difficult times that we're going through and focus on the future? And it's difficult to see that. I blame, there's social media, there's instant posts, there's all this other nonsense and the hate that we experience between one another, just simply because of who we voted for or simply because of what we support. I hate you now because of that. I hate you. It's a sad state of affairs. And honestly, all this has been created around a political movement. It's been created around politics. And when you look at politics, who leads those politics? I think it's an interesting question, and one that's very bottom line is, it's like you mentioned before, leaders have to provide that vision and the courage to go there. Still waiting.
Well, here's the deal, and you're right. That's what we expect of our leaders. And when that doesn't happen, then we have to turn to ourselves and say, well, these people don't seem to stand for much that's helpful to people generally. What will I stand for so that I can be one of those people that stand for things that are helpful to other people? How can
Right.
I be the example? How can I
Exactly.
be
Yep.
the person? Again, leadership, even in small ways, and even in informal ways. How can I lead through a better example, a better vision, better values, clearer values, better integrity? Stand for what you say you stand for. Say what you
Yep.
mean and mean it, and then go and do what you said you're going to do. It begins with individuals because it's going to be individuals that turn this country around. It's not going to be the leaders. The leaders have vacated long ago their leadership responsibilities and roles. So we've got to be the people that start at the bottom and we start working our way up by finding other great people to represent us because
Yes. Yep.
it's a sad thing to say, but there's no other way to say it other than the government in so many ways has just become thoroughly corrupted. And
Yep.
with corruption comes ruin. And with the ruin comes just this things are spoiled. And we feel that in so many different ways. So out there, leaders, if you're a leader, be a good leader. Be one who reaches out to people, who cares, who shows your interest in others, doesn't just tell people what to do. Be the one who
Right.
leads the way through your examples, through your positive beliefs, the character you're developing, and develop those skills that make a difference, that really help people out, that lift
Yes.
people, that encourage people, that bring out the best in people. Develop those skills, develop those character traits, and then encourage others to do the same. That's the only way to get out of this kind of a thing is by us becoming the best we can as individuals, learning as much as we can, doing the right things, and then turning around and helping other people to do the same thing, inviting them to do the same thing. Otherwise, because it just all goes to pot. But that's that individual sense of responsibility. That's an important thing. Having that sense of, I can do something. I may not be able to fix it all, but where I am is a place for me to start. And starting with me,
Starting with me. Yep.
person, and then reach out to the people and encourage them, help them. What can I do for you? What can we talk about here that might be a benefit to you right now?
Absolutely. And one thing I want to add to that, Michael, you talked about serving others, being a servant leader,
Mm-hmm.
developing those skills that allow you to be a servant leader to help others, and leave a legacy, a lasting legacy that's going to continue on building on that foundation. Here's the thing. Hate is evil. It's evil. It creates chasms between us, destroys families, destroys friendships, destroys, name it. And here's the simple secret is you don't have to hate somebody for what they believe in. It just simply means you don't agree with it. It doesn't mean it's an automatic reason to hate. Think about that. If we were to serve each other more and become and develop those true leadership skills that allow us to be servant leaders, where's that going to get us down the road? And like you said, Michael, it starts with us.
Right, and it can be hate is something that's generally pretty active.
Yeah.
It's got an anger to it, it's got a rage to it, it's got a force about it. It's enmity, one person against another person. There's
Yeah.
another level of that disconnection that we have in society. That's indifference. We just don't care what happens to you. We don't care what happens to your neighborhoods.
Yeah.
We don't care what happens to your family. We don't care what happens to your people. That just that indifference, that coldness of heart. And so it's sometimes it's hot and it's hatred, and other times it's just really cold. It's indifferent. Both of those are antithetical to creating a great society, to creating a really wonderful, thriving neighborhood and friendships and organizations. None of us can afford to hate, and none of us can afford to be indifferent. That we
Yeah.
just don't care. We can't afford that and expect us to be able to stick together as an organization, as a team, as a neighborhood, as a community. None of those things. We've got to be vitally interested, not putting our nose into other people's business, but just looking out for the welfare of people. So you find people, leaders as you're out there that have a lot of anger, a lot of rage. Got to see what you can do to kind of settle them down. How you
Yeah.
can help them there. On the other hand, if they're just cold and they're indifferent, see what you can do to engage them. You can't have hate. You can't have indifference in your organization and expect it to succeed. You just can't. You got to either pull them out or do something or help them find a better way to go for themselves. That's what leaders do. Leaders sometimes have to make tough decisions. And
Yeah.
sometimes they have to talk. They got to talk to, up the ladder. We talked about leading up the ladder. Sometimes it's not the easiest thing in the world to speak truth to power.
Yeah.
But, because everybody wants to be, I'm part of the team. We're part of the team. We're part of the team. Well, sometimes being part of the team means being able to speak truth to power, but do it in not an emotionalized, histrionic kind of a way. Rather do it, with the facts and figures and with a sense of goodwill and camaraderie. I'm just telling you
Yeah.
this because this is not good. We need to take another look at it. We need to work this thing through. All those things, when you really get down to it, it's like I was saying, it's like these 2 year olds having temper tantrums and rants and stuff like that. It's just the opposite. If there's ever been a time for people to learn how to grow up and be adults, they become their best, be their best, behave their
Yeah.
best. This is that time because if you go the other route is very, very dismal, and it's a horrible vision. It's a horrible outcome they seem to be seeking. So don't be those people. Be the people that's got a smile on your face and a can-do attitude, and get engaged, reach out to others, and let's take it to a better place.
Absolutely. So, and the one thing about leaders, they have to step up. I don't care who you are. Step up. Do your job. Do your job
And learn to do it better every single day.
every
Every
single
single
day.
day, a little bit better, incremental. Just a little bit at a time.
Yep.
That's what it is.
And use those critical thinking skills when it comes to listening to those leaders, because I'll tell you what, have you ever seen these guys that might say something, these leaders, no matter who they are, and suddenly you get all these people coming out of the woodwork? Oh, that was, great. That's a great comment, sir. That was really good. Or, I really love that. It's like, dude, did you really read what he just said? Those kind of things. Critical thinking skills. Let's really, engage some of those. So just throwing that out there for food for thought.
That's right. Then reach out to other people and see how you can start connecting. That's right.
Yep.
All right. There you go. That's our wisdom for today. Take it for what it's
Well,
worth.
yeah, and once again, we're at the end of a excellent controversial subject on Mainline Executive Coaching ACT, but it's one that needs to be discussed. Leadership across the board needs to be discussed. No matter who you are, no matter what level, developing those leadership skills and developing them and continuing to develop them every single day is critical to the country. We need great leaders, critical to the world, critical to your organization, critical to your families. The list can go on, but just do it. And we can help you start.
Absolutely.
Executive Leaders Act, ILEC.com. Go there and let's book some time and let's talk. And who we got a shout out to? Is it, just planet Earth today?
Who is it? I want to give a shout out today to the people in Sri Lanka. They
Okay,
are
yeah,
going through
absolutely.
some
We do have some good
very,
followers there.
they're going through some really, really tough, ugly times.
Yeah,
And they've just kicked out their president, I think, and vice president. And there's they've sent them down a road where they don't get the right kind of fertilizer, so they can't grow the crops. Farmers are out of business. The people there are just really, really suffering. And a lot of attention is on Ukraine right now. Another terrible, terrible mess over there. Our hearts go out to them. We don't hear too much about Sri Lanka, and
yeah,
our prayers and our hearts go out to Sri Lanka as well as
yes,
to the Ukraine.
absolutely. Excellent choice for today. So once again, take care of each other, and until we see you again, it's Rich and Maikel. We'll talk to you soon.
All the
Take care.
best.